Hi everybody, Adrian Fuentes here. Did you know that the Democrats of Greater Tucson has a website, thedgt.org, and if you subscribe, it's only 20 bucks. You can support this great weekly communication where folks get together. Sometimes there's candidates, sometimes folks like me pop on to help understand what's going on in the world. The Democrats of Greater Tucson, thedgt.org. Join up today.
Mayor Roberta "Birdie" Wilcox Cano of Winslow, Arizona, is Winslow's first Native American elected mayor. She has a unique firsthand view of the remarkable economic opportunity that the Arizona I-40 Inland Port Project holds for her town's future. Roberta "Birdie" Wilcox Cano, Diné, Pueblo, and Scottish ethnicity, is the first Native American to be elected mayor of Winslow. Born and raised in Winslow, Mayor-elect Wilcox Cano speaks of her idyllic childhood when the whole town used to come together for community and cultural events, and everyone embraced diversity with a spirit of inclusion and mutual respect. She says of herself, "I was born and raised in Winslow, Arizona, a small northeast Arizona city that borders the Navajo and Hopi reservations. Living in Winslow exposed me to many diverse cultural activities and experiences, which helped me recognize the importance of being a part of a strong community and honoring cultural traditions. Upon graduating from high school, I began a career working for the Arizona Department of Corrections in Yuma, Arizona. Working in the correctional field, I was an officer, sergeant, and correctional officer third class, where I developed leadership skills, interpersonal skills, and an affinity for teaching. In 2005, I moved back to Winslow to raise my family. I wanted my children to have an opportunity to experience the same multicultural upbringing that I enjoyed and also be exposed to their Native American heritage. In 2013, I began working for the city of Winslow. Throughout my tenure, I recognized that some of the practices and mentality of the former city council administration and staff were not forward-thinking. I felt that there were areas of our city that could be improved with new innovative ideas, which inspired me to run for mayor. I was proudly elected as the first Native American Navajo Pueblo mayor of Winslow in December 2020, and I am currently in my second term of office. I enjoy serving my community, with my priorities being to support a positive work environment for all employees, bridge the gap between our city and neighboring tribal communities, and build an economically sound, prosperous, unified, and inclusive community for all that live in the great city of Winslow, Arizona. Mayor Cano, let's give you a warm welcome from all the Democrats of Greater Tucson. We really appreciate your coming today.
Thank you.
And I think we're going to learn some wonderful things. So the floor is yours.
Oh, well, gosh, where do I start? So, yes, I just wanted to share with everybody that I'm very grateful that you invited me here today and that you're doing the work. So it's very much appreciated. We're a very democratic city. So yes, total support with everything that's being discussed and how we're moving forward. We have a big, strong Little Colorado Democrat campus here too. So yes, we understand it does take a village to be successful. So yes, I ran because things just had been so stagnant. We're an impoverished community. There's about 23% of our community is listed as being in poverty. Our median home income is less than $40,000 a year. We've just really been held kind of in the same place, kind of frozen in time since I-40 was built in the late 70s, early 80s. So before then, we were a thriving metropolis city. right on Route 66. We had the railroad, we had a Route 66, and just kind of like this central area and hub for trade and commerce with not just Navajo and Hopi tribes, but just, travelers and, being able to like be a hub of prosperous, industry and, what am I thinking? Travel and, just a vacation location for a lot of people that love to do Route 66. So from the 80s, early 80s through the 90s and up till about, I would say about 10 years ago, we had been just at like a standstill just from being bypassed. That's where our bread and butter came through, was people driving through our city and utilizing our restaurants and shops and having that experience of going downtown and having a vibrant downtown community of shopping and everything else. So we are coming into a new age and a renaissance. So when you made the joke of let's sing the song standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona, that's really where it started. Is in the early 2000s, there was a group of people that said, you know what, we really need to capitalize on that one line and that great song and bring some people back downtown. And so it was just one of those kind of kitschy roadside attraction things where we have a dedicated location right in the heart of the city. And you can stand on the corner in Winslow, Arizona with a great mural, a statue, and just really being able to experience everything that Winslow was. It's still a lot of very old nostalgic buildings and memorabilia and things like that. But from that, we've really started a slow renaissance. And to springboard off of that, when I came back to Winslow in 2005, I thought, oh my gosh, I left in the early 90s and I thought, there has to be a way that Winslow's going to grow. I mean, it made no sense there wasn't growth like there should have been, where we have Interstate 40, we have a great airport, we have the railroad, we have land, we have water. There's so many components of success. And yet we were just, spinning our wheels. So when I started working for City Hall, I really did see where it was a very old school mentality, kind of good old boy system where, a lot of, let's just keep it the same. We've learned how to survive since, we've had to make do with what we got. And a lot of people wanted to keep Winslow the same. And I'm thinking in the terms of not just myself, but my kids, my grandkids, the future generations, like what are they going to have? Not everybody these days could be a rancher. Not everybody these days could go into the railroad. I mean, they're looking at going into, a one-man crew and it's all computer generated. So where's the industry going to be in 10, 15 years? So once I started working for the city, I seen like the stagnation of and the mentality being as such, and I figured somebody's got to do something about that. So it's one of those things, if not you then who, if not now then when. And I threw my hat in the ring, and here I am. So since I've started, and this being my second term, I'm going into my third term here pretty quickly. We've had so much happen. One of the big things that had kind of prevented us from having a lot of development was we have a levee that protects us from the Little Colorado River, a tributary of the Colorado River. So every monsoon season and every after the snow melts, we run risk of having our city flooded. And in 2008, FEMA actually decertified our levee, and we had been having to pay flood insurance since then. It's been about $15 million that our impoverished communities had to come up with flood insurance for their homes and their businesses. About 80% of our community actually lies in the flood zone. So I'm happy to say, between partnership with the city, the county, state, and federal government, we have $101 ready to go and approved through the Army Corps of Engineers that our levee will be shored up and fixed, and that's going to be one of the biggest infrastructure projects since the building of I-40. So we should be looking to break ground here in probably at the end of the spring into the summer, just the preliminary parts of that levee project. So with that, a lot of attention has come to Winslow. Once the news got out that the levee was going to be fixed and we're eventually going to be taken out of the floodplain, developers started knocking on our doors and seeing the potential of Winslow. So, oh my gosh, the south of town off of Highway 87, there's just masses and masses of land that's available. And being that we already have infrastructure in place, we have our airport south of town, the BNSF Railroad, and the close proximity to Interstate 40. We've actually come into a moment with a developer that wants to do somewhat of at first they called it an inland port to help with some of the supply chain issues, but we're discovering where we exactly fit with this project, and that's where the I-40 Trade Port Corridor committee had come into play. So it was a thought that between all these cities on Interstate 40, we could potentially bring industry back from overseas, and primarily like from China. They're not going to be so friendly with us in the future, and some of those industries are going to need to come back to the United States. So how do we come together as a possibility for some of these industries, and how do we attract them? Well, let's partner. Let's look at the Port of LA to Kingman to Winslow and Albuquerque. And so that's really how this trade port has come together. And so the primary person or the organization or the location that put in for a grant, it's the US DOT Accelerator Grant is what Bernalillo County put in for in New Mexico. And they were awarded almost $1 million. It was about $973,000 just to kind of start planning how each city works together to make this trade port corridor. So each city is going to have a specific specialty or possibility for industry and growth. And together we're, always going to be able to have each other as a support system. And, hey, this company came to Winslow. They're really interested in doing this type of industry, but it doesn't really fit for us. Perhaps it might fit better in Albuquerque or Kingman. So with the three of us combined, it's a 2-state endeavor, several counties and 3 cities. It's probably every, U.S. Department of Transportation or president's dream to see such a big coming together of, how a workforce can make things happen in the United States. It's the collaboration that's the really attractive part of what's being done here. So we are in the very preliminary planning stages, but we do see that this endeavor and what we're looking at in Winslow for some of the trade and things that are coming is going to just be a regional transformation for not just Winslow, but our, surrounding communities, Navajo and Hopi, Joseph City and Holbrook and Navajo County. So we're very, very excited. And we just feel like it's about time. It's been about, 40 plus 50 years since any significant growth has taken place. So a very exciting time for the city and for the citizens and our neighboring tribal communities. And like I mentioned it earlier, I'm actually here in Hopi today to talk to their council about some of the prospects and the availability that they may have in this whole part, because a lot of the outlying areas that we're looking to develop belongs to the Hopi tribe. So it's good. It's a very beautiful collaboration of a lot of cities and communities. So it's like I said, a very exciting time. So with that, I mean, that's kind of in a nutshell what's taken place. When I came into it, I was hoping just to get maybe a couple new restaurants and change some policies in City Hall. And here we are. We're looking at big picture, just life altering possibilities and development. It's truly a location of significance, Winslow, and we're just an opportunity zone. So yes,
Great. Well, how would you like the opportunity to answer some questions?
absolutely. Yes, that's probably the best way to do this.
Hi, Mayor Cano. It's an honor to be on with you. I apologize for any background noise. As you know, I'm a candidate, so working in a cafe is kind of what I got to do. Can you speak a little bit to the opportunities that clean energy has brought to your community? As you know, the current Corporation Commission is trying to destroy our clean energy transition plan. And with the Democratic majority on the CorpCom, a place like Winslow could be revitalized with good union jobs. And I'd like to hear what the view is from the ground on how clean energy can provide economic opportunity for rural areas.
Absolutely. So yes, the vision we're actually going through our general plan right now. We had been so stagnant, we hadn't done one in about 20 years. So we were very much so overdue. And we see Winslow right now as a blank slate. So we have the availability and opportunity to really seek the industries that are looking for sustainable, renewable, and just solution-driven products that will kind of further the next generation, because that's exactly what we're building this for, as our kids, our grandkids, their kids and grandkids. So we have the opportunity to really be mindful and pick and choose who we partner with as far as an industry goes. And so thus far, we've had a lot of interest from, as much as I can speak on, or just interest, that they're looking to have a lot of their own solutions to, like, not tapping out our energy grid, or or tapping into our water supply as little as possible, or being able to sustainably renew and reuse the water that they do use. So we're looking at some very interesting possibilities with solar and wind. We definitely have a lot of wind in Winslow. So, that's something that we see as a positive. And yeah, we get a lot of sunshine, so solar would be perfect. And like I said, the industries we are looking to attract and bring in are going to be ones that are solution driven. And we do have some candidates right now that are just very desirable for that mentality and that hope for the future. So it's a very exciting time for Winslow, and especially being that it is, building that for our future, for our kids and our. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm your leadership has been really inspirational. And we hope to see you perhaps even looking at a higher office 2 to 3 cycles from now.
We'll see. I'm a very novice at politics, and I'm learning as I go. And I guess they call me the people's mayor because I didn't really have an agenda. I just wanted it to get better. So, and I know there is a lot of like give and take. And so you can't just say what you want when you're, at the, in legislature. So you have to be mindful. It's a little bit different in the local level. So I don't know, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we need more of that, right?
Okay, Bridget has a question.
Hi, I am wondering if you're familiar with Arizona List, and are you working with Arizona List, or is someone from Arizona List working with you?
I am not familiar with that. Do you have a little more information? I'm gonna look.
Yes, if you, I will introduce you to Arizona List. I will at the end get your email address if you can put it on the chat. And it is an organization that has existed in Arizona for 20 years to elect pro-choice Democratic women to office. So, and they have provided a lot of training to candidates. I believe most of that is complete by now, but I will provide an introduction for you because they can help you.
Oh, well, thank
It's on the
you.
board
Yes.
of Arizona List, I believe, correct, Bridget?
Yes, I am on the board of Arizona List. Yes, not a staff person on the board, but yes.
Okay, thank you, Bridget. And Andrea Kennedy has a question.
Thanks for coming today. I don't think it's possible to overstate what a big deal this is for Winslow. What I was wondering about, has there been any discussion when you have projects like this coming through? Sometimes the people who live there are priced out. There's an environmental impact. Has there been any discussion of how this is going to affect the area environmentally, and also a way to keep the residents who live there from being priced out? And I understand it's not Winslow's not on the reservation, but it's on a trust that's held by the Hopi people. Is that correct? Have these two ideas been addressed at all yet?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you, Andrea. That's a great question. So yes, we recognize and acknowledge that we only have so much capacity to grow because of that. Just right outside, maybe like 2 miles right outside of town you're running into Hopi land, and it's very checkerboard, and being that, and that's sort of why we're here in Hopi today, is just to see how we can partner together to make a sustainable and residual income for both of our communities. Hopi actually struggles a lot with, being able to supply the resources and things they need for their people. And being that they have that land available and the possibilities that could be brought there, it would be a game-changing endeavor, and a good thing for the people of Hopi. And the way we're approaching them with the possibility is that they get to decide what that is. It could be solar. It could be something that is, just very low impact to the land. And because there is that respect, Winslow was originally Hopi land, and that is, to me, like very special and sacred. And it only makes sense that we do come into this together as partners, instead of, saying that Winslow's giving you this opportunity. No. We are coming into this as, how do we move forward together to make the best decisions for our communities? Because really that's all it comes down to, is we have got to figure out how we can move forward and provide a lifestyle and opportunities for the future. And that's something we both communities have struggled with for forever. And yes, there is some pushback. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So Winslow, having had, 40 plus 50 years of non-growth, we've learned to live with what we had. We learned to live sort of impoverished, and this is kind of as best as it's going to be. This is as good as it gets, right? And we've learned how to deal with that and make it work. And it's one of those things where it's a trauma. It's a trauma when you were a thriving community, then all of a sudden it just ends, and people have left, and businesses closed, and there just hasn't been any real hope for to get that back, you know, the heydays of, you know, the 50s and 60s, where Winslow was a thriving metropolis and a destination location and all these wonderful things. And, you know, it just ends, it just abruptly ends. So I think I've said it in several meetings where, you know, people, what's your biggest challenge in your community? And mine, I always say, is I need to convince 10,000 people that they're worth it, that they're worthy of good possibilities and opportunities. You know, if something good is put in front of them, they reject it because that can't be real. That's got to be, you know, they feel like that's somehow a scam, or they're trying to get over on you or take something from you, or, you know, so it's been a struggle. And I think the more that we come forth and include the citizens in the community in the discussions and how we move forward, and what types of industries do they want or would they want to, you know, have near them, you know, they're going to be more open to it, and actually, you know, see that there is a possibility of hope for the future. And, you know, we're not going to have to, you know, have three jobs to make ends meet. You could have one good, decent job and, you know, career to sustain your family. And yes, the housing issue and being outpriced is already starting to begin, and it has kind of ever since COVID. You know, obviously there's a lot of small towns like Winslow that, you know, people, you know, realize they can move away from the big city and live somewhere very inexpensive, and maybe buy 2 or 3 homes in that little community, and, you know, Airbnb, or, you know, do a rental, or things like that. So our challenge is that, you know, we're 60 miles east of Flagstaff, and they're priced out. You want to talk about being priced out. Be a police officer and work in Flagstaff. You know, you're never going to buy a home there. You know, but you can in Winslow, and that's, you know, it's already happening. I think right now on our existing homes on any real estate site, I think there might be 15, 20 maybe homes available, and I never thought I'd see the day where a home was $300,000 in my community. So it's, you know, without even any of this taking place, it's already kind of happened.
Wow.
So we're hoping that with, you know, better possibilities, industries, and careers, you know, the housing developers will come in and start building, and that'll kind of tame some of the, you know, it's a supply and demand right now. The demand is higher than our supply. So if we're, you know, building a nice thriving community, that we're hoping that will calm some of the price hikes and things like that. And yes, and we, like I said, Winslow is a blank slate right now. We could actually, you know, have some of these developers come in and say, well, we need workforce housing. If you want to come in, we need X amount for our community that's actually affordable for people that are going to be here working. So, and then we do have a lot of, like, you know, everybody realizes tribal land. So, you know, partnering with Navajo and Hopi, we can figure out how that works for them too. And I mean, I just feel like we are able to finally bridge the gap between our communities and have that open discussion, like how do we all come together and make it work for all of us? Because the opportunity is here, and we just want to make the best decisions for everybody. So yes, and you mentioned something about the environmental. I am probably, and my council, I'm one vote. We are probably the most methodical and very diligent in what we're going to allow to come in, and really be mindful of water usage. That's one of the big things that Winslow has is people would never ever guess or know because of how high desert, and, you know, we're not very, you know, we don't have a lot of trees or a lot of green, but we do have a very large water table, and we want to protect that as best possible for not just Winslow, but Navajo and Hopi too. And you know, so we are putting in very strict development agreements with whoever it is we're going to be working with. But at the same time, people are willing to still adhere to, what we're asking because our land is very affordable. And we're probably one of the last real affordable locations in the state with, the possibility of growth.
Hmm.
Without spending, astronomical amounts, obtaining the real estate. So I hope that answers everything. Is there anything I missed?
Have people from the tribe and people from town, has everybody gotten together and hashed this out, or is this still to come?
So
Now you have the money, so.
Yeah. So we're at right now, we've had several meetings with the community. A lot of them come to our council meetings and voice their concerns. There's two communities that are they're very much impacted by some of this growth or potential growth. And that was something that, precedes anything that we had ever imagined or developed. So it stems from just like, the original times of when Winslow was incorporated. There was, without being, I guess just be blunt, let's say so mostly it's Hispanic, Native American and African American communities were literally placed on the other side of the tracks from the main part of Winslow. And that's where even in the heyday, the industries were located. That's where the airport is. The least desirable locations is kind of where their neighborhoods had been set up, and at one point in time they had their own schools, their own grocery stores, so those families and those generational homes are still there. And so those, inherited people that lived there from those, from when it first started, it's Southside and Coopertown is what the two neighborhoods are called. They just feel like, here we are with this new development, and do we have a say in this? Are they going to take us over? It's a lot of fear. It's a lot of being afraid of, oh my gosh, they're just going to push us out, and they're going to, just take advantage. And I think it's systemic. And it's, like I said, it was a trauma from, the original times that Winslow had begun. And so what I'm pushing and hope, and my whole council is that no, yes, the industries are going to be in that area, but that's what we're zoned for. And that's what it had already and originally been intended for. The industrial would be south of town and everything else, the north of town. But with the developers that are coming in to possibly, build the infrastructure and everything else, we're telling them that they need to be mindful of those communities and work with them and get their input on what's acceptable. Light industry obviously would be ideal. And then green belts, parks, upgrades to those neighborhoods, things that the city could never really afford to do for them. If they want those really desired locations, they're going to have to work with us and those neighborhoods and the people that live there to preserve them, to preserve, what they have, and also enhance. And it's kind of one of those things, the zoning is already there. It's already mapped out to be industrial. So it's like, it's trying to, just remind the citizens that whether it's this group or another group, somebody's coming. So let's work with the group that wants to help you and actually
Yeah.
try to, make it better for you and offer some amenities for the kids, and, be willing to bring in some, green belts and parks and, some desirable things for that neighborhood. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and I wish that, I could fix it, but it's, we have to meet in the middle and give somewhere. So we're doing the best we can with them. And yeah, it's been rough, but I think we're getting there. So
It sounds like it could be very exciting. Thank you.
thank you.
Right. Okay, Mike, do we have any questions in the chat room?
But I do have a question of my own. I'm trying to get my head around the scale of this planned project to do light industrial in Winslow, and I'd like you to possibly address what are the key investments that have made this development possible, what the scale in terms of dollar amount is, in terms of private investment that's going into the Winslow area as a result, and like maybe the number of jobs or kilowatt hours or acres or like multiples of the size of the city that we're talking about so that people can understand the scale of this project.
Okay, yes. So the developers that we're working with right now, they're called Atlas Global, and you can Google them. They're a new conglomerate of people that have come together. So they're hoping to procure what I can speak on for the city is that we have 1,200 acres available for purchase. That's just north of where our state prison is located. And it's south of like the main area of our city. And that had been available for decades. It's actually, one of the locations I was just like, gosh, I wonder why nobody's ever capitalized on this, because for one, it's not even in a flood zone. And it just, it just seemed like it makes sense to have something out here besides just the state prison. So we're in a development review with them. We've actually gone into escrow with the contingency that they meet all of our asks and I don't want to say demands, but we're like I said, we're being very careful on how we proceed with any development to protect some of our resources. So it's developers are always going to want to have as much as they can for as little as they can get it for. But we realize that we have this moment where there was a time in Winslow where we would just be happy to have anything come in, but we actually have the potential to be very picky and choosy on who we proceed with. So they understand that completely, and we've been taking our time with how we move forward to possibly sell them that land. Now, around that area, those other areas, Southside and Coopertown, that's all privately owned, or mostly Southside, not really Coopertown, but privately owned land. We can only try to help with like what industries they bring in. If it's zoned industrial, that's just sort of what we have to go by, So all in total from what they're looking at procuring is about 3,700 acres for some of these concepts of industry and actually even leasing land from around our airport to really enhance some opportunities there too. We're thinking of there's we back in the heyday we used to have TWA flights out of Winslow, and it's very underutilized, and it's just the potential is tremendous. We're looking at some of the successes like Mesa Gateway Airport has a lot of really good commercial and restaurants and is sort of a destination location. And that's kind of the concept we're hoping to bring to Winslow as well.
Okay,
So how many
Susie.
jobs do you think are possible?
So I know that with some of the industries they're looking to, attract, we did have some interest just on our own from an industry that would start out at about 200 jobs to up to 900. So that's just one industry. So we know we're going to grow exponentially, maybe even double our size within, I would say maybe about 10 years or so, just, over time. Whether you commute into Winslow, if you live in Holbrook or Joseph City or the surrounding reservation communities, or actually come and move to Winslow, that's our workforce. That's what we're looking for is just, those who can commute and live where they're currently located or relocate to Winslow. So I could feasibly see us probably within the next 5 years at least growing to about 15,000 and then at a minimum doubling our size. So, it just really depends on what industries we're attracting. But like I said, I can speak on the one that had approached us that that was their model and plan. They were going to need at least 900 people at full capacity. So that's huge for us, massive.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Craig Markin would like to know, how does the railroad work into this development?
So Winslow actually is, it's a hub location for BNSF. And so back when, things were prosperous in Winslow, we had a sawmill and there's a rail spur that went directly from our sawmill to the railroad. And that's where a lot of the attraction is with some of the industry that's wanting to come in, is they see that is already in place. So the infrastructure that is already in Winslow between the rail, the air, and Interstate 40, you're talking probably $1 billion worth of infrastructure that's already existing. We would just upgrade and make that, a pliable, position for new industry. So again, that's where BNSF is massive, is being able to kind of have that location where, and with the concept of what I kind of mentioned earlier, like an inland port per se, we just recently had a tour at the Port of LA. And one of the concepts is what if they just brought the freight in from the ships and they bring it to Kingman, Winslow, or Albuquerque, and from there we offload and distribute from one of our 3 locations. So it's all just very preliminary. It's all very conceptual, but it's all very real. Obviously the government's really looking at what we've come together as a conglomerate as a very viable and valid opportunity for, Arizona and the United States. All 3 of our locations are great positions to distribute goods and goods from, from those locations to the east, to Chicago, to Texas, to just pretty much throughout the United States. So our forefathers kind of knew what they were doing when they
When they cited it,
set up
yeah.
some of that infrastructure. So yeah, BNSF is massive. That's one of the biggest components, and the thing that we really emphasize, especially with our citizens, is that between BNSF and I-40, you're talking about $4 billion of goods just passing through our city every single day.
Yeah.
Passing us by. What if they stopped and we got just a tiny piece of that? How lucrative and how could that transform Winslow, having that tiny little bit of that income and wealth? It's like I said, it's just a very game-changing opportunity for not just Winslow but the whole region. So that's what we're really looking at, is if they're stopping here, how do we get a piece of that wealth and be able to thrive? So.
Okay, well, Susie Anderson has a question.
Welcome. It's so good to have you here. Yeah, the northern part of the state is special to me. I've made several trips through the Grand Canyon on rafts, and I know where where the Little Colorado empties, and it's a gorgeous place. What I was wondering is how many tourists come to Winslow and spend money, and what is healthcare like, and does Navajo County help you in any of the things that you've planned?
So yes, tourism is massive. You would not believe that statue really has, or our famous corner has really just started like I said, the Renaissance. But it's been tremendous. I mean, even through COVID, we have a way of tracking people who stop on our corner, and you know, we could easily get like 1 million people that pass through yearly. The trick is, how do we keep them there for more than 40 minutes to take a iconic picture and maybe grab some lunch or go to the gift shops, you know? How about staying for 3 or 4 days? That's what we're really working on with our Chamber of Commerce and some of our, you know, our visionaries that promote Winslow. But yes, what is old is new again. Route 66 is massive. People, you know, we have bike groups, like motorcycle groups that come in all the time just to take a picture on that corner. We have tour buses that come and stop. We, you know, so rain, snow, shine, it's somebody's always on that corner. It's really remarkable. So yes, but some of the concepts that I was hoping to enhance in Winslow, because I love my corner. I love it. It's been the thing that's helped us come back, but it's not the only thing. We're more than a corner in Winslow, Arizona. I see us as like it's not just the hub of industry, but a hub of travel. You could come and stay in Winslow for 3 or 4 days a week even, and you can do everything. You can go north and you'll be in Hopi and Navajo lands, Monument Valley, come back and stay in Winslow. You can go south and be in Payson, Pine, and see Natural Bridge and, you know, the forest, the beautiful forests there. You could go west and Flagstaff, Grand Canyon, some of the Walnut Canyon, some of those wonderful things. And it's all in a day's drive. You can go east and do Petrified Forest and, you know, some of those great areas. And even Holbrook's a great destination location. So I like to call it the 4 corner or 4 directions to adventure, 4 directions to adventure. And that also plays on the Native American, you know, mindset of the 4 directions and having harmony and peace and everything. So, you know, we're looking to expand some of our opportunities. And Winslow itself is just a wonderful location with lots of history. If you love trains, oh my gosh, there's so many people who come just to watch our trains coming through. La Posada, the Harvey Hotel that, you know, is just gorgeous. Ann Coulter was the architect, and she built La Posada in 1930, and like, yeah, that was groundbreaking for women. You know, women weren't architects back then, and it's stood the test of time. It's a beautiful place. Come and have lunch at the Turquoise Room. It's a wonderful dining experience. Amtrak still stops in Winslow. So there's people who travel Amtrak and they just stop at all these wonderful historic locations and, you know, come in town for a little bit and do sightseeing downtown, have lunch, you know, just enjoy the Old West, you know. And we do, like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our ties to our Native American communities. There's so many wonderful artists and culture, and you know, it's just a special place. So, you know, I'm hoping to just show the big picture of everything there is that Winslow has to offer, and it's just, I'm telling you, if you come, you'll fall in love. It's really, the people are just fantastic. So I want to keep that charm.
Apparently, maybe planning a trip. She wants to know if the area is good for bird watching.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I don't know if you've heard of Clear Creek. That's one of our, it's about 5 miles out of town. And we have a beautiful park there. Some of the best bird watching you can have. And it's right by the water. Everybody Google Clear Creek in Winslow, Arizona. You'll never imagine there's that type of body of water in our high desert. It's one of our it was one of our best kept secrets, but you know, we have people who come throughout the summer to, you know, do kayaking and, you know, rock climbing. It's just a really fantastic body of water. So yeah, we have it all. We have everything you need to be a wonderful, thriving city. So yes, please come visit. And when I give you my email, I'll also give my phone number. If I'm around, whoever comes to visit, I always say, let's go meet on the corner, get that iconic picture, and we'll go have lunch. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm thrilled to have our guests. Yes, when you're in Winslow, your family.
Great. Well, Joshua, you have the last question.
Well, I'm going to take you up on that. I plan to visit all four corners of our state, as well as the four corners, as I'm going around campaigning. My question is getting us back to the D and DJT. What do you think about the Democratic message that you presented in your campaigns really resonated with people in your town? Because I want to make sure that the campaign that we're running, whether it's the statewide race with me and Yelenia Aguilar, whether it's the federal races or the down ballot races, we're presenting a positive vision of our party that's going to resonate with people, whether they're in Central Phoenix and Tucson, or whether they're in the suburbs or they're in places like Winslow. What is it about the Democratic Party that you think resonated with your folks?
So when you run for a local seat like mine, it's nonpartisan, but like I said, the majority of our community is Democratic, and I think they realize just, being born and raised in Winslow, everybody sort of knows who your family is. They know what you're about without even having to say it. A lot of people already knew what my stance is, and, just sort of like some of the advocacy I've done, just privately without being the mayor. People understand and recognize, you're definitely Democrat. But you do have to represent everybody in these positions, as the mayor. So when I ran, I actually said, it was that very political time, hot topics, and what's your stance on this? What's your stance on that? And I go, well, that doesn't really pertain to the matters of Winslow. However, that when it comes to party, because our colors of the Winslow Bulldogs is maroon and gold. I said, I'm not blue or red. I'm maroon and gold. So, but I welcome everybody to the city, and I know it's going to be a very interesting campaign or election year. So and there are some of our representation that help us are not necessarily Democrats. So I try to keep that neutral stance and not get too entrenched. But people know. I mean, like I said, just because of where you come from, who your parents are, what you've done, your body of work, that sort of thing, people already know. And so if it comes down to it, and I have to make a statement, I'll probably be very neutral, but just know that I'm always sending the best intentions and vibes to our what our goals are as Democrats. So I hope that is a good enough answer. But yes, you're welcome to come to Winslow and advocate for your ideas and thoughts and how things might be better if you're a chosen candidate, or if you're the winner. So
Well, that'd be great. There's three of us who are running. We need to get 3 Democrats on the Corporation Commission. And I'm not going to monopolize the time, but I will be circling back to you, and hopefully we could get your endorsement. Yelenia and I could get your endorsement for the race.
okay, yes, we'll definitely talk about that on the side. I'm going to
Okay.
try to get on and give you guys my email address here. Let me see, chat.
Okay.
Any other questions while I'm typing away here?
No, but we have a big round of applause for a great
Oh,
program.
thank
Yeah,
you.
let's hear it. It's great, wonderful. I've never heard beautiful and development in the same sentence. And I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great.
Well, thank you. No, I'm very excited. Like I said, it's just our time, we decades, literally about 50 years since anything significant has happened in our city. And it's like I said, it's not just about me, it's about our surrounding community, our kids, our future. And I'm just, like I said, I'm doing my best to make the best decisions and protect everybody, but I do recognize we have to, at some point, grow and be sustainable too, so.
Well, I gotta say, I'm very excited when I heard about this project, because for so many years we've been sending our industrial jobs and our manufacturing jobs overseas, you know, to China or to Mexico, you know, and finally we're homeshoring them and putting them in rural areas that can really use the development and the jobs and the stability that comes from industrial work. So yeah, when I heard about this project, I was just thrilled that we're finally doing something for rural America and bringing those jobs back home.
I'm telling you, that's where it's at. Rural communities are gonna be the next, saviors of our country in a big way. Because so many people are ready for that, like our communities are ready for it. And, it's, one thing that I said at one point, Hopi has some land within our city limits, and they had a little industry there. It was the BBD plant. They called it the hat factory. They would make hats and embroidery and things like that. And so it had gone to the wayside in the 90s, kind of, fizzled out. And so that's a big opportunity zone. It's a big, already built manufacturing location. To build that today would be millions of dollars, and it's already there, just needs some upgrades. And I said, wouldn't that be cool to have whatever you're making there, whether it's clothing or this proudly made in, not just America, but Native American, land, ancestral land or something like that. That's your brand is, it's literally, the First Nations, proudly made on First Nations land or something like that. I just am like, I'm envisioning so much good from what we're wanting to bring into our area. So yes,
Well,
very
thank you.
exciting times.
That's right. Well, thank you for your inspiration, your passion, and your commitment. This sounds like an awesome project.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Hey everybody, it's Senator Mark Kelly. As all of you know, Arizona Democrats have had a lot of important wins over the last few years. We won 2 U.S. Senate races, and we delivered Arizona's electoral votes to President Biden and Vice President Harris. We elected Governor Katie Hobbs, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, and Attorney General Chris Mays. Now, those elections were close, and our victories mattered. Arizona Democrats from the federal to the local level have delivered real results for our state on critical issues like combating climate change, lowering prescription drug costs, protecting the right to vote, and preventing more restrictions on abortion access. The Democrats of Greater Tucson offers the opportunity to hear from elected officials and candidates about that important work and the issues that matter to them. That information will be invaluable as Arizonans head to the polls. So this election cycle, whether you're signing up to knock doors, make phone calls, or joining the Democrats of Greater Tucson to hear from and speak to Democrats in our area, please know that your voice matters and we need you on this team. Thank you.